so it's all charged up. First impressions are actually, it's very small, and that's part of the reason why I bought this, is because I wanted something that's easy to carry, inconspicuous, so that doesn't require a lot of equipment. I hate carrying around equipment, and so so the reason I got this is it's actually pretty easy to carry. I can just throw it into my backpack and be able to just carry it around and flip it open and take some clips and then just close it when I'm not using it. But yeah, so it's pretty it's very cool. So so as you can see here on the right hand side, you can this is where it opens up. It flips open, and I'll go through some of these options in a minute. But essentially, you can see over here, this is where the SD card is inserted, so you can put it in here or put it out, and then you can turn it on or off right from within this option as well. As well as you can change the from recording to playback mode. So if I press this, it actually changes it to playback mode, and it shows me all the videos that are in the system as well that have been recorded on there. So of course, the micro HDMI input is right within here, as well as the USB connector. The Wi-Fi is just to enable me to link to other Wi-Fi, as well as a high dynamic range option. One interesting thing to note is that a lot of the extra features are actually not really available with the 4K recording. So if you're doing a lot of 4K recording and want to depend on a lot of these extra features, then you may want to think twice about this camera or get something that's a little bit more focused on 4K. On the back, of course, is the battery. So the battery is easy to take out. So you've got this little clip that will allow you to take that battery out. Just like any other camcorder, of course, the start and record buttons here. You can zoom in and out from within here, as well as take still pictures or photos right from within from within this part too. The nice thing about it as well is you've got it's got the horseshoe. The horseshoe, of course, it's not a hot shoe, unfortunately. So it pretty much just carries stuff. It doesn't really do very much other than that. But it's always useful to just have some additional supplies or additional items on top of it. On the back here, you have the charging capability. So it opens this. This is where the AC/DC the AC adapter gets plugged in, as well as for a headset. So if you're listening or you want to hear what's going on in there, so it feels pretty pretty nice. It doesn't actually feel too bad at all in the way that it works as well. And of course, at the back, you've got the ability to connect it to a tripod and be able to see that. Here you can connect a mic, so it's got the ability to open up so that you can connect the mic in or external microphone. The mic so far has been pretty good. It shows that it's got a windshield on it, so I'm looking forward to seeing what it sounds like on the windshield. I don't know if that's really going to be good or not. And then you can see here from the front, one of the cool things about it, although I'm not sure I actually really care too much about this, is the cover feels flimsy. So when you open it up, it actually opens up a little bit, and then you can see you can kind of see the image optical stabilization inside as I move around. The lens actually jumps around a little bit inside just so that it can keep it as stable as possible. So I'm looking forward to trying that out on the trying it out outside. And once you close it, of course, then it automatically closes it. But most likely what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a camera lens cover or something to just cover it, so that when I throw it into my backpack, I don't have to worry about this getting banged up for any reason or anything like that. Yeah, and that's it. So I'll put it here, and then we can see and go through some of the menus in a minute. So let's take a look at some of these menus. So essentially the main menu that changes everything is this one here, which essentially is Intelligent Auto, and this is where you change the different modes of the system. So this Intelligent Auto, where everything's automatic, the camera makes all the decisions. You've got Intelligent Auto Plus, which really, when you set it to Intelligent Auto Plus, all you really get is Intelligent Auto Plus, the ability to set the contrast and the brightness. Which not that much more useful, to be honest. Then there are a bunch of other ones, so the creative modes and HDR. But creative modes and HDR right now, if I tap on this, it'll tell me that these cannot be used in 4K MP4 format. You'll notice that. One of the things that you will definitely notice is that a lot of these creative features, a lot of the features that are marketed as part of this camera are not available in the 4K mode. They're only available when you're at 1080p or the AVC HD modes. Then there's scene selection, so you can select a few scenes, whether it's you can do sports, you can do portrait, soft skin, you've got a spotlight feature, you have snow, beach, sunset, scenery, as well as fireworks, as well as night scenes, and finally low light. The camera in general is good in low light, but it's just terrible in night shots. I definitely would not recommend it for night shots, but for in low light it's okay. And then of course there's manual. So manual is actually pretty interesting, where you can set the focus. So I can go in here and set focus. So it could be autofocus or manual. If it's manual focus, then I would have to. There is no ring, so if it's manual focus, I would have to actually go and do plus and the minus to be able to do that. So it's definitely not a very good idea. And you tap on it again to get rid of it. And then there's the white balance. Of course, you can change the white balance from here. The shutter speed, so you can set the shutter speed. So the slowest shutter speed you can set is 1/60, which is not very slow, to be honest. And that's part of the reason why it has such dismal performance in night shots and when I tried it in the night shot. Then you've got, it goes all the way up to 1/8000. So it's pretty good in daylight. Based on what I've tried so far, it's really good during the daylight. And then the iris, or the aperture. So you can set it. Right now it's open, and it actually shows you how much, how open it is or how closed it is. And you can set that aperture based on that. The gain is based on low light. So whenever there isn't enough light for the most open setting of the aperture, what it does is that it starts adding gain, and the gain basically adds noise to the picture, but also adds a bit more. It allows the picture to look a bit more natural. But it adds noise. So ideally you don't want any gain, because gain means that there is additional noise in the picture. You can also, just as manual, and then you've got a few other quick video tips. So this is slow and quick video. There's slow motion. There's a slow zoom effect. So these are little effects that you can, cinematic effects that you can play around with. Personally, I would prefer to do these directly into whatever video editing software I'm using at that time. And then there's 4K photos. So this allows you to just take photos while you're doing the 4K video. So I'll change it back to Intelligent Auto. And then you'll notice on the left here, there is there's the main menu, and there are a couple of options here that allows you to tap. So the tapping is not as, if you're used to a phone, it's not really as good as a phone, of course. But these features are actually pretty good. So as you scroll around between these different ones, this set of controls here are configurable, so you can set it up, and I'll show you where that is in a minute. But you can, but one of the things I really like about it actually is, before we get into the menu, is this capability here. So this is the image stabilization. This one actually is an additional image stabilization. You notice it actually stays longer there. And so what it does is that if you're zoomed in onto something that is pretty far away, and the camera is pretty unstable, even with the regular image stabilization, you can actually tap this and keep it tapped, and it adds an additional layer of image stabilization. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I've noticed that it kind of locks in a little bit better. So if you're hand holding it, and it's so it doesn't get too jumpy. And then there is the follow along focus. I'm not using the correct term here, but it's the focus allows you to tap on something and then select it. So once you tap this, you select something on the picture and tap on it, and the focus will automatically follow that object, whatever that object is. So I find that actually pretty useful as well, especially with the small screen and the fact that you can't really set anything manually on this. And then the final thing I'll show you here is the main menu. So this is where everything sort of happens at the beginning. So you can do the recording setup. So when you're taking video, this is where you set your zoom mode. So right now I've got it to optical zoom. To be honest, 24x optical zoom is more than anyone needs. But you can actually take it up to a digital zoom of 1500x, which I have not tried it. I probably will try it at one point and see what that looks like. But I would imagine it might be a little bit grainy, but we'll see what that looks like. You've got active contrast, which is a better way of doing, making pictures a little bit more contrasty and better. The recording format, this is where you can select. Right now it's at 4K, so you can select just regular MP4, which would be 1080p or AVC HD or 24p. And a lot of as I mentioned before, the creative features, if you want them to be available, you'll have to you will have to select one of these options here as well. So that's sort of that. The recording mode, so you'll notice a bunch of features are grayed out. These are, again, because I'm at 4K menus. So, because I'm 4K, so it doesn't really do that, or I don't have a camera. Like in this case, I don't have a twin camera connected, so it's so that's why the backup for it is off. But it's obvious what that says. Prereq is it's an interesting topic. It's almost like a PVR where it records. You can get to record 3 seconds before you actually start hitting the record button, which I'm not sure exactly what that is. And of course, face framing is pretty interesting. The hybrid optical image stabilization, that's always useful. Level shot is also good because it shows you all the time as the camera is level or not. And fading is sort of an effect that when you start recording or stop recording, there's a fade in and fade out effect. So it might be useful if you don't want to bother having to go and edit it in the video editing software. But I pretty much everything I do after that is edited, so I don't really see any use for it. Guidelines, of course, you can set some guidelines as well as a level gauge, so just so that you can know how level you are. But I find that with the optical image stabilization and that other level option, it actually shows me much better than this. AGS is just a feature that allows the camera to switch off if you, I guess, if you fall or something, because if you tilt it too far forward or too far up, then it'll actually then it will turn off the camera or stop recording at least. So I have that off because it's too intrusive in my opinion. As well as backlight compensation, so that's that's just another way of making the picture a little bit better as well. Shooting guide, there is it just gives you some tips and options along the way as you're shooting, as well as there are a whole bunch of options for sound, whether it's 5.1 channel or just 2 channel. Right now it's automatic, and you cannot really select it too much in 4K mode as well for some reason. So I find that whenever I set it to AVC HD, then I can actually set the 5.1 channel, as well as, of course, mic setup would work if I have the mic, and the mic level is automatic. So that's pretty much the the way that it actually sort of functions. Now the last thing I can, and of course pictures. Picture size, you can select what kind of picture setup there is, and in the main camera setups. You have how long to keep the display open, for example, setting clock, setting the world time, link the clock to daylight savings time, the date time format, zoom, record display, the OIS lock display. So a whole bunch of different sort of settings on how the camera works, the external display, whether you want the battery to be in economy mode or not. Whether it's connected in economy mode or not, whether it's if it's connected to the AC, do you want it to be economy mode or not? So just sort of the processing time and how much power it consumes. The quick power on is essentially just controls when you open up this display whether it turns on or off automatically or not. And then if you want to turn off the annoying beeps, I always turn these off, so you can just turn them off. And this is every time you press a button it beeps, so I don't really like that. And then record pause alert, just an alert that pops up every time you do that, which again I know I pressed that. And then there's a bunch of the operation icons I showed you earlier on. You can actually set that. So once it just showed it, it says select cancel by touch, 3 icons to select it. So then I would select the 3 icons that I want onto that main screen, and then once I've done, I would do enter as well. And then the power of the LCD, then you can set a whole bunch of different LCD and HDMI resolution. You can connect it to another Panasonic TV if you want to. Initial set essentially it's a factory reset, so you can just factory to set it back to the way it came out of the factory. Wi-Fi settings, auto cursor position. I'm not sure what that is. I think I would look that up and I will write it onto the notes. Then the number reset, it just resets the file numbers that it stores. I can format the media, of course, as well as just look at a whole bunch of things. So media status, for example, firmware version info, firmware upgrade. Sadly enough, firmware upgrade has to be done by downloading something onto the memory card and then putting the memory card in. Even though it has Wi-Fi, I think that you should be able to connect to a Wi-Fi and upgrade by downloading directly. As well as software information, that's something more for debugging mode, I think. And then it just sort of just a few things where you can set the manual. The last thing I'll show you is once I go into play mode. So I'm going to press this button here, which changes it to replay mode. So replay mode essentially just shows me all the videos that I've taken so far. Divided, of course, into different tabs. So the MP4 ones, the 4K that I've taken, any AVCHD ones, 24p ones, as well as pictures that I've taken as well. So all you need to do is just sort of, just select the ones that you want, and you can actually then you can just play whichever one that is that you would like to play for it. So pretty simple. As well as you can, I think you can tap on the 4K ones, for example, and it goes through and it allows you to do a whole bunch of different editing as well. Personally, I don't think I'm going to use any of these features because, as I mentioned, I use another option, or I do use a video editor to do all these settings. So yeah, so that's it. So the next thing I'll do is I will take it out in another video to show you what the videos look like, and I'll post another sample video of what the video has in it, or what the camera can do.